Labor Force. Thank you all for getting here early. We're going to give everybody else a couple of minutes to join, and then we're going to get started with our webinar today. All right, everybody, thank you for joining our webinar today, and we're going to get started. We're going to be doing a brief overview of bacon today, but we're mainly going to be focusing on bacon profiles today, what we fondly like to call the one feature to rule them all. Before we jump in, I want to introduce John Marcato, the CTO of Bacon Unlimited. Hey, John.
Hey, Emily. Hey, everybody out there.
We've also got Andrew Britton on the line, our beloved VP of Development, who will be giving our demo today. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going? You can call me Bacon.
Okay, Bacon. And then I'm Emily Goldstone, your host for today and a Bacon Unlimited team member. Some tactical items before we start. I want to let everybody know that we have a chat feature for you today. We want to make sure that you get the most out of the webinars. So please feel free to communicate and ask us some questions. We've got an engineer behind the scenes who's going to be answering those for you. Second, we're going to give you an opportunity to provide feedback at the end of this webinar with our post-event survey. We love to hear your feedback on the session and on Bacon the product so we can provide a more tailored experience for you all. Everybody attending today is also going to getting some Bacon swag. If you fill out that post-event survey, we're even going to include a super soft Bacon Unlimited t-shirt. We all wear it in the office here. We all love it. Always get compliments on it. Before we start, I want to get some polls out to get a feel of where everyone's at. Caitlin, would you mind sending those out for me?
Oh, yeah. That's kind of what I thought I'd see, Andrew. More than half, maybe 70% of the people are using many tools to do policy management. So that's one of the things Bacon can help with, which is getting all of your endpoints done on just one tool. So that's exciting. And I think with that, we've got one more poll for you before we kind of jump into things. If you wouldn't mind throwing that up there, Caitlin. This is sort of the tricky question because if you're a small organization, probably don't have a lot of people to do this with, but it's a bit of a trick question, I think.
And yet you might still wish you had more until you get a product like Bacon.
Yeah. And most people here are doing it with 1 to 5 people. We probably could have made those numbers skewed a little bit differently, but I think the concept here is that you should be able to do it with just one. And so it looks like some people are sort of doing that, and we want to give you a tool to make that easier. So that's something we're going to be talking about today is, how do you learn how to do these profiles and sort of control all these policies on your systems if you're not a coder or scripter or a complete expert in each operating system. And that's one of the things that all the templating and the additional support and help from Bacon Unlimited can assist with. So before we jump in and kind of give an overview of what we do, Emily, do you have any last comments before we get started?
Yes, thank you, John. I want to let everybody know that we record all of our webinars, and those get posted to our Bacon Unlimited YouTube channel. So you can find all of our post webinars there, as well as Bacon Bits, which are these cute, fun little videos that Andrew makes that describe the features of Bacon a little bit more in depth for you guys to go look at. And make sure you go check us out there. And the floor is yours, John and Andrew.
Well, thank you very much, Emily. So we're going to kind of just briefly go through. I think a lot of people on the webinar today are people that already have Bacon or have seen a demo, but just for those few people that maybe haven't seen it before, Bacon's a cross-platform endpoint management solution. It manages servers and workstations and laptops and so forth, whether they be Windows or Mac, or multiple flavors of Linux. So if you use, Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, Debian, all of those are fine. We've actually recently added a few more to that list: AWS Linux, Kali Linux, Rocky Linux. So these are all ones that we see getting used in business environments, and so we're going to always add support for those and make sure that people have all the coverage that they need. In addition, Bacon is essentially designed to help you do sort of multiple administrative tasks and also have a lot of flexibility around your system. So we felt that the most important things that people needed were visibility. And so through monitoring system and also through a lot of sortable information, you can get inventory information, you can find out about health problems on your systems, you can find out about services popping off, you can find out about having too many available updates, just lots and lots of things between monitoring and sort of inventory visibility that are really helpful, sort of all the attributes of your systems and what software they have and every single version of that software, and sort of all those things are really important, and they lay the groundwork for a good functional tool. So the ability to install patches, the ability to install new applications, whether they be simple or sort of more complex installers, and then the ability to control policies through our profile deployment system is really one of probably the key features where you can generate a lot of value and save a lot of time. So we'll be talking about that today. There's a bunch of other little things that you can do in the software. You can remote to all of your endpoints. You can get lots of information from our Bacon Grease portal. That's where you can get your upgrades and everything for Bacon, but also links to data like all of our profile templates and script templates and things like that. So just lots and lots of really good stuff that exists in there. And so Bacon overall is all about being able to get things done in an automated fashion, like rolling out all your endpoints, keeping them in the condition that you want to keep them in, and kind of knowing about them so you can report on things and just generally have total control over your environment. And probably the last point I'll make is that it works from anywhere. So it's an ultra secure platform, so you can have just the hardened ports open to the internet, and your endpoints can check in from anywhere, and you can securely control them through a model that will meet most compliance regulations and things like that. So built from the ground up to do that. It's really, really intelligent in how it does that, and we have lots of information available on how we did that. So without further ado, Andrew, I think it's probably time that we jump right into it, so we have as much time as possible to kind of talk about profiles and show some examples. Profiles is very, very powerful, and there's a lot of different things you can do for it, and that sometimes can almost be confusing, right? It's like having too many choices, right? Things you can do. So In order to understand profiles, one thing we definitely need to do is just give a couple of pieces of knowledge out there if you aren't familiar with these things. So in order to know what profiles do, you have to see our monitoring system just briefly. You get a little glimpse into that on our overview page here because there's a lot of profile alerts on the first page there. That's those purple squares. And as you hover over them, you'll get some info on them. And if you click on them, it will actually take you to the monitoring page, and it will drill down just on those specific ones we were looking at. And we have a profile called Mac Install Firefox, and the idea is that you can install Firefox on a Mac with that particular profile. And based on some grouping of machines, you'll be able to do that. And whenever we set up a profile, it automatically creates a monitoring rule. And that monitoring rule will report in here to the alerts board and on the overview page. But you can also set it to pass through emails. So if you have something that's really, really high concern, like locking down USB ports on particular laptops, if they break the profile, maybe some smart person figures out how to go in and change the registry setting to allow themselves to have that USB enabled, well, you're going to find out about it. Bacon's going to alert you on that, send you an email or open a ticket in your ticketing system, and it is going to also try to set it back the way it was where it's locked down. And that gives you the ability to respond to that security event or any other kind of event that you care about. So knowing about this monitoring section is critical to understanding profiles. The other section is under our hardware area, and that's actually our groups section. And basically what groups are in Bacon, they're used all over the place in Bacon, but they reside here. And essentially what they are is groups of endpoints. And there's two flavors. One is called a static group, and it's a simple concept, right? You choose which machines you want to be in it. So maybe you choose one specific machine, or maybe you choose 5 machines that belong to the C-level employees or something like that. And then that group won't change unless you change it, right? Real simple kind of easy concept there. And static groups can be really helpful for a lot of different things, like maybe a patch testing group or something. But the more fun kind of group is what we call a dynamic group. And Andrew's kind of building a group here in the background just to kind of show you how easy that is. But dynamic groups, it's funny, we actually make them on the endpoints page by doing filters. We won't do that today, but essentially a dynamic group is based on our compounding filters capability. And so this idea that you could have a machine that is any machine that is on a particular network that's also Windows 10, that also is currently turned on, and connected right now. All 3 of those things are separate criteria, but you could compound them together, and only machines that match all 3 of those things will make it into the group. And it's also real time. So let's just say in that example I just gave that a Windows 10 machine that's online and on a particular network changes networks, right? It was on a network, maybe at an office, it goes home, gets DHCP from your home network. Well, it's not going to be on that Bacon group anymore, and therefore it won't be receiving any jobs or any profiles or anything else that are intended for that specific group of machines. So understanding groups is also fundamentally important to knowing how profiles works. And so with that, Andrew, I think we're ready to jump into profiles themselves. And I was hoping maybe you could give the overview of what a profile is and what a state is. Maybe give us some examples of states.
Thank you so much, John. I would love to do that. So let's start with a profile, and then from there, I'll work my way into states. A profile is the collection of states that gets deployed to those groups of machines that you were just talking about, John. Either those dynamic groups, all online Windows machines that are in your East Coast network, or your static group for patch testing. Profiles get assigned to those, and again, are the collection of states. And states are just those like minuscule bits of instruction about how a machine or computer should be set up, what its attributes are, what the operating state of that computer should be. And I have some examples here, and profiles they're very easy to think about. Let's open up, how about just this demo provisioning profile? There's not a lot to this. We're going to give it a name. It is operating system specific. I have some notes in here. This one installs Firefox, Chrome, Zoom, and then I see I have one more application that's going to install, and that's VLC. What I'd like to show is this refresh rate, and this is an important part of how our profile systems work. This is one of the most powerful aspects of our profiles because it ensures, one, that the computer stays in a state, and it lets you decide how often it's going to reapply that state. And John, the reason I like this so much is this is where people can really leverage the power of profiles to ensure high security or to ensure application installs, but let's say they don't take up too much resources. So this is a great place to kind of balance the need of your profiles work inside the refresh rate. So if I had, let's say, a high security profile, one that set certain GPOs to lock down external ports and user accounts, that's an important one. So I might want that refresh rate to happen every minute, which would, thwart all but like the largest nation state hackers, right? Because it just every minute would reapply that every single minute. But if I'm installing software, like in this one, running every minute, it's not going to make sense because just installing those 4 applications is absolutely going to take longer than 1 minute. So we want to, go to a slower refresh rate. And depending on the importance of the security or just the general usefulness of those applications, I can set this to refresh every 1 hour, every 1 week, or even greater than that. So it's a very flexible system to bring those states and provision those machines. And now that I have this, I'm going to actually jump into this provisioning demo state because I wrote this profile to actually provision new computers with software. I'm sorry, John, you were going to
Yeah, I was going to say, just if anybody doesn't understand or needs some clarification on this, I just want to remind everybody to ask questions because there are some detail points we'll get into here that may not always make sense. And that refresh is really is a powerful thing. And I've gotten lots of questions on it before about what if I'm doing like provisioning? Will it take up tons of resources if I set it for every 15 minutes where on my provisioning network where I create new gold images of Windows and it's already got my Bacon agent on it? Well, what's going to happen if I have to wait a really long time? It's like, for the most part, you're not going to use many resources because of a key factor in profiles, which is that you have the ability to condition check most things. And so, for instance, if you were going to install these particular apps, if you already have them installed, the profile can check that. So you're going to eliminate a lot of wasted CPU cycles and data copying and things like that because the condition for success is checked first, right? And that's really important. But still, if you're doing every 1 minute, you're still running a lot more CPU cycles and just wasting time. And we like to be very tidy with these things. So, being able to control that time frame is really, really important. And I just wanted to chime in on that. So please continue.
No, I appreciate that. That's a great point. And that actually helps me segue into states and how we write states in a way that is, as you say, not wasteful of resources. If it's already installed, do we reinstall it just blindly? And the answer to that, as I'm going to show in the state right here, is no, we don't. And I'm going to show that line in this code, John, that has the check that says, if this is already installed, don't do it again. So this is a very simple installation template type of state. And this one does two things. First thing it does is it copies down a file, our VLC installer. And once it copies down, we're going to put it in the C temp bacon folder, and it copies from source. Now I'll get to that in a second, but the next thing we're going to do is install VLC. And here's the command line. This is what you type in actually command on the shell, command shell in Windows. You type this, take that same command, you put it in here, and that's how easy this is. We're not redefining operating system languages. We're not creating our own language. We just take the commands that exist, that work, that have been tested for decades, put them right here, and bada bing, bada boom. Now, this last line, this is where that magic comes in, John. This is what checks to see if we actually need to run that command. And this is line 17, and that is the idea here is that after we have run this installer that got copied down in this previous step, after we run it, it should create this file, C program files, video LAN, VLC, VLC.exe. Therefore, if this file already exists, just don't run the installer again. And that's it. Like it's that simple. It's just those two lines. If it exists, don't run it. If it doesn't, run it.
Yeah.
And I love that, because trying to write that in PowerShell or in command batch, you can do it. I've done it before. This is much easier. This is just two lines.
Yeah, and we give people lots and lots of examples, right? So we have just an unbelievable amount of templates for people. So like when you pull a script up Google or something like that, you want to get a sense for sort of something similar that does it the same way, right? And I know you're going to be showing us some of that today, so I don't want to steal your thunder there, but it looks like you're already making your way up to our GitHub, which is linked off of our bacon grease, by the way. So it's very, very easy to find, and we've got lots and lots of templates, which I think is what you're going to show us right now.
Busted. I am. So you're absolutely right, John. We do work very hard, not just on making a good product, but also making sure that there's a very easy on-road ramp for people to use it. And what does that mean for us? That means we're not just making software, we're making the free templates that people can use. They can use in Bacon or not, but you should, because everything's better with Bacon.
Indeed.
And it's all free. It's right here. This is our public open GitHub repo. And right now I'm looking at the Bacon states repo, but we have state templates, script templates. We got a lot up here. So let's go to the Bacon states. And for each operating system breakout, we have a separate folder. We got a Windows, we have some security states, Mac OS, Linux. Inside of Linux, we have breakouts for different Linux families, Debian and Red Hat. Enable USB, disable USB. But what I really want to get to, what I'm really excited about, I think you know what I'm going to say, John, is our collection of LGPOs. And we've recently developed just a little script, a little process that's going to, taken all the LGPOs on a system and converted like 4,327 of those into unique states. And these are the local group policies. You can actually find these in your local group policy editor. And you'll notice that if I go and look at, my local group policy editor, I've got a computer folder and a user folder, just like I have in the local group policy editor. So if I go on further and go into computer, and let's go to computer for my administrative templates, same folders. We tried really hard to ensure that anyone who's very familiar with the group policy editor and the settings, that as you dive into our public repo, you know how to get where you're going. We didn't put everything in one large folder. We didn't name things a bunch of random things. If you're familiar with this, you already know where to go and where to look for it. So we spent a lot of time here, and we'll actually get to later in this demo, we'll get to actually some of the Windows Update states that are available right now for download at this moment from our repo.
Yeah, it should be noted that one of the great triumphs here was writing software that actually was able to interpret these all the LGPOs for every Windows operating system and put them into our template bank. So we did some extensive testing on those, and that worked out really, really well. And we'll continue to update that in the future. So you'll always have those templates, but we write quite a few other templates that do things like change registry keys or install software and lots of other unique things that people have come up with. Some really brilliant customers of Bacon's that have just come up with some really neat ideas. And we even have a guide on how to write these. So if you want to write them yourself, you can. But I think it's probably a good time to note, Andrew, which you've heard me note many times, Bacon is very different from any of its clients any of its competitors in that we actually include help and sort of can see ourselves as an extension of your team with these sort of DevOps types problems. So if you do use Bacon and you're using our templates and you find it challenging to get what you need out of it, or there's not a template kind of matches it, well, we love that challenge to help you out. And right inside the software, as Andrew's showing you right now, we do have multiple ways that you can reach us for support. And that support is a part of our subscription. So you won't be paying some sort of extra professional services or something like that. If you've got a problem that you're trying to solve that can be solved with profiles or scripts, Bacon will help you. We love doing it. And one of the ways that we generate lots of new template content is by working with you and working on your problem and then making that a generally solvable problem for other people. So the strength of the community comes from having as many of you as possible participate and helping you with as many problems as we can. So just wanted to take a moment here in the middle, Andrew, to bring that up. And now I think, maybe we could jump into showing some more of these cool profiles.
Absolutely. I'm going to take 1 minute and just to continue what you said is as I work with our clients as part of just the standard support, because that's our support, you get support. Some of the more interesting problems that I've worked on with clients in terms of creating states and creating profiles and helping them solve, system provisioning issues using states, I've turned some of those into Bacon Bits videos, which you can see here. With the permission of our clients, they've allowed me to take some of the core work that I've done for them, like install certain antivirus products on multiple operating systems and writing multiple step states for that. So it's just another way that we're bringing that support from experience, from where the rubber meets the road, right here, and just making it available for you. So I just want to say that part.
Awesome.
Yeah, so continuing on, we do have a whole bunch of states that can do, we got a lot, right? So we have one that showed VLC, install VLC, but let's look at this provisioning demo one. I like this one because it takes that initial concept of how to install one piece of software, and it shows, well, how do I install multiple pieces of software? And I like this one because it shows the simplicity of the state, the repetition of the approach. And what I mean by that is, even though this one looks long, it's really simple, John. The first thing I do is I download Chrome, and then I download Firefox, then I download Zoom. After that, I install Chrome, I install Firefox, and I install Zoom. So the first half is download, the second half is install. Now let's look at this download part. So I'm gonna use this function, file.managed. And if you ever want to know what that is, reach out to me through all those methods that we just showed you earlier.
You'll use it all the time.
Yeah, you'll become, this one, you'll just remember this constantly. You've been making pancakes and bacon. Boop, file.managed, pop in your head. So this one, we're going to download a file, the Chrome installer, and we're going to put it on the computer. That's what this does. So the name is ctemp bacon Chrome. That's what we're going to call it locally, and this is where we get it from. Now, let's actually go get it.
Oh, I love the go get it part.
So let's look for Chrome. The other part that I really like about this part of the demo, John, is that it shows that our states tie into other aspects of the product. We're able to take files from our files and bundles feature, which by itself is an amazing powerhouse. But our states tie into that as well. So whatever you've turned into a bundle, any files used in there, you can also use in states. So I would get my Chrome MSI.
I remember when we were first making this, we didn't have this copy link function that you're on right now. And you kind of just had to know or kind of call us if you wanted to know what the path was through Bacon to get this file. So now we just are always trying to create new linkages and simple ways to do things. And so you can just come in here, right, get this link, and you can use it anywhere in any profile now or other areas as well. So it's so great.
It's certainly been one of my favorite flavor alerts.
Yeah. Pro tip, by the way, there's no reason not to have multiple tabs of Bacon open at once. So if you happen to be working on a state like Andrew is now, he happens to just have one open, so he clicked back through. But you could have left this edit page open, duplicated the tab, gone over to the repository and found the file you're looking for, and done that copy, and you just copy and paste it right over to here. It's an absolute path. So that goes through the back end inside the server, and it looks like gobbledygook. Here on the screen, nobody would remember, right, this file name, but it's completely preserved and known in the system, and that's why we have that function in there. So pretty cool.
And I do that copy link function for each one of those. And this is how we do the downloads. The next part we do in the install. And here we have a different function set, command.run. And again, we saw this one before, if you remember. We're going to take this name field, which is just type in here what you would type into the command window, MSI exec /q qn/i. I probably could have put a no restart, but that's where you really want to do the research on what the silent install flags are for each one of your applications.
Yeah, it's easy with the MSIs, right? But with EXEs, it's unique to every piece of software. So some use /s for silent, some use /S, some you have to say silent, all written out. It's little unique things like that. You'll always have to find out, but you figure it out once, and now you can deploy it to hundreds and thousands of machines, and it makes it really, really easy. And with Bacon, when you do it, you can monitor it and you control it. Andrew, I did want to interject one thing too, because I noticed it was a question in there in case anybody didn't know this, because some people haven't used Bacon before. Bacon does use an agent, and it does have full administrative access to the system. So Bacon is installed, on a root account on Linux or by an admin, and becomes system powerful on Windows. So what's really, really great about Bacon is that you can do a lot of things that some other tools won't be able to do because it checks in from the endpoint to the system and then says, what commands do you have for me? And it already has the authoritative control in a secret lockdown way that no end user who's using the system can mess with. And so this goes beyond just what profiles can do, whether it's just doing straight software installs from our repository or doing patching or many, many other things, but it makes this the most powerful way to deal with endpoints no matter where they live in the world. So there was that question on the chat, and I just wanted to make sure that we notated it for everybody out here. So please continue.
Thank you, John. Yeah, that was a great question. So what you'll see here is now that I'm working on the install, so the install command is just this MSI exec, and then look, here's our creates again. So it should create this file. If this file is there, then it will not run the installer. If the file is not there, it will run it. And it's just very simple. And I don't think I can state that enough, because once you see past some of this kind of this YAML formatting, the structure of this is insanely simple, and I would much rather write it this way than have to write my own PowerShell scripts and write my own if and else and then and all that mess inside of a PowerShell script. But the great thing is, John, if a state doesn't cover that, you can just write a PowerShell script and the state will call and run that as well. So you don't have to abandon your scripting by any means. This, in fact, augments that in a bunch of amazing ways.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So another one that I'd like to show, John, if you don't mind, maybe we could show, I know this is one that you researched, and this one goes into, well, how do you set updates and GPOs for applications where you don't have a GPO for? Do you want to kind of give us the intro while I get the file set up for that?
Yeah, you bet. So this is actually a problem. Anybody who administers Office 365 and Windows in general may have run into this problem, but it set up a great opportunity to use Bacon profiles to control GPOs for non-standard GPOs. And so those of you out there who know this, Office requires that you download separate files, which are called ADMX templates, to be able to control them through GPO. And so we wanted to not only download those files and put them in position, it's actually two files, you see them on the screen now. An ADMX file and an ADML file both have to be copied onto every single Windows system you want to control and for every app you use. In this case, it's just the Outlook ADM files. You can get them for all Office applications, but you can also get them for things like Adobe Reader or Chrome. And quite frankly, any environment where you want to be very secure with Chrome and you're using Windows GPOs at any level, including LGPOs, you'll want to have those ADML, ADMX files copied into position because you get additional functional control of that particular application on each of your systems. So in this case, we were just talking about Office, and the problem we were running into with Outlook, or Outlook in specific, is that Outlook was freezing for people randomly. It wasn't the same users, but the same user would have the same problem over and over again, and then some other random user would get it, but it didn't happen to everybody. And after doing some research, what we found out was anybody who had offline email enabled, right, the Exchange was essentially cached mode on the Outlook client, it would sometimes freeze for some people. And what we found was when you enable that feature, it automatically turns on an additional checkbox related to shared folders, right? So caching of shared folders, which is something a lot of people, most people don't even use as a part of Outlook. And so as soon as we found it, we disabled it on the given user's Outlook under the cache mode way deep down there in the settings. And so the idea came up, oh, well, let's change this in GPO. Oh, well, we want to send it out through group policy, but a lot of our machines for remote users are not actually added to the traditional Windows domain. They're only on Azure AD. And so they have LGPO, but they don't have the traditional AD GPO. And so how are we going to do this? Well, Bacon gave us an easy answer. Let's copy these two files into the correct position. Let's get notified that that happens, which Bacon is very unique in that it tells you how successful it was in getting those files in position. And let's enable that particular feature, which is actually a disablement, but classic Windows here, you enable a disable function, okay? And so the first two chunks here, right, they're essentially doing what we saw before, that file managed business. I went in with after I dragged and dropped my ADMX and ADML templates onto Bacon's repository. They showed up there. I copied their internal links, which we see on that level there where it says source and then it says salt and all of these little goodies there. And that's the actual path where that file lives. And so knowing that I was going to place that file in the name section above, that's where it is on Windows 10, that you're going to put these things. This is what it took. Those first two chunks, get those first two files into the correct position. And then after that, we do the part that says the LGPO set on line 37. And it essentially says, this is the name of the GPO, which that LGPO doesn't exist until you copy in those ADMX and ADML files. But now that they're there, we just call out that particular LGPO and we enable it, right? That's what the button says inside, which disables shared mail folder caching. And that's all we had to do. We did also have to name that it was the policy class was user and not computer. Those are the only two options. But other than that, there's very, very little that you have to do to create these. And this one didn't exist already out of our auto generator because it's not one of the default Windows ones. And I was able to figure it out on my own without any knowledge other than sort of digging through and finding my GPO. So I figured it out for one person and then put it here in Bacon, and it works for everybody, no matter where they are, no matter whether or not they're on the domain or not, whether or not they've connected in over VPN and actually gotten a domain, a GPO refresh, a GP update, or anything like that. And that's the part I think that's the most fun, right? Is that you can use all of this GPO technology that's built into your systems. And it doesn't matter if you're modernizing your environment and only using Azure AD and not full AD. It doesn't matter where people are. If they get on the internet, they're going to connect in and they're going to get this setting. And whether they do or don't, or whether there's a problem, the Bacon logs are going to tell us that. It's a very, very powerful thing to be able to do. And now nobody who works at TWE and Bacon has the problem of and many other clients as well, has the problem of not being able to get a normal Outlook experience because of that cache folder. Any new user that comes online is part of an automatically dynamic group, so they're automatically added to a dynamic group and gets this rule out of the box. So this is just one use case, right, Andrew? I don't know if you had any other comments on it, but I just wanted to kind of run through what this one is doing. I didn't know if there was any other things you kind of needed to maybe make an explanation of, like the little make directories and replace functions there or something like that.
Exactly. I did want to go over those, but I also wanted to ask you, how long did it take you to write this one?
Well, I did download a template, and you had one that was a BG info setup, and it had the same sort of file manage setup. So I was starting with a template. It took me about somewhere like 15 to 20 minutes. I had to figure out, I forgot where ADMX and ADML templates lived on Windows 10. So I think I spent about half that time sort of figuring out more the Windows side of it. But in total, yeah, about 20 minutes.
Nice. And those templates, those are all the ones that we have up online, right? All the free ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. And the other thing I did want to point out, like you said, is this is a great example because it also gives just a little bit more detail into kind of the power of how this is approached. Now, in some of the other examples, I have turned on make dirs, which is make directories if they don't exist. For this, I think it was very wise that you turned that off because these are Windows system folders, and if it's not there, the folder's probably not there for a reason, and you wouldn't want to go making system level folders all willy-nilly, especially if it was an accident. So this same file.manage that we used to copy down, it has extra settings for, let's turn off making the folders, in which case it would error out. I see you also have replace set to false. So if this file is there, don't replace it. Again, I think that was a wise move for this because of the sensitivity of these files. So I wanted to mention that as well in this particular state before moving on. Thank you, John.
Yeah, it's funny, and I do want you to move on so we can get to another example, but these are the questions when you see a template and you don't know what these things mean, where, you know, hitting us up on the chat or whatever it is totally worth it to go, if I do a make ders, will it do this or will it do that? In this case, I happen to know what those are, but there's even some templates I find I'm like, I don't know what this one particular function or line does. You know, hit us up. We'll tell you whether or not, you know, it's a good idea or not, or in your particular use case. And sometimes you even need some additional lines. And that's where we can collaborate together and help you get your state to be like primo perfect, to do all of the little things you want it to do, and, you know, come up as successful in your logs and so forth. So really, really good examples, I think, here. And I think we have time for probably one more, right?
We sure do. We'll go to one of my favorites, and that's setting the wallpaper for people. Setting a workplace appropriate yet artfully tasteful picture on the desktop. So
I think what Andrew's alluding to is that the picture I thought would be funny for this example was not what he thought should be here, and his is a lot more PG than mine. So please continue.
my pleasure. And no, I would never say that, John. No. So this state, again, it's the power of the state is in the simplicity. I'm going to copy a file down. This file lives inside of our files. It's it's a JPEG, and copy it down to the local computer. And here I have opted to make the directories if they do not exist. And now I'll get to this notation here in a second. As another reason that I did want to share this particular state. And the next thing we'll do is going right back again to the local group policies. This time we'll set a user policy, which is the desktop wallpaper, the wallpaper name and fit is the wallpaper style. I like showing this one because this really shows the range of what you can do. The only way to show more range would be to have this, webinar be like 4 hours long. And while I could fill those 4 hours easily and do another 4, it would get a little dry. So this is a good selection. And the other reason I like showing this state is that this also gets into, once you get more comfortable with states, one of the things that, I've written code for 20, 30, 40 years now, a long time. I don't even care to remember. The thing that always gets everyone is, you fat finger something. You accidentally uppercase when you should have lowercase or vice versa. And so when I'm dealing with paths, I really like to just set a path once and use a much shorter variable name. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. For anyone that has done any website dev, this will look very familiar. This is just Jinja formatting, Jinja. And if it doesn't look familiar, that's what support is for. And when you reach out to support, chances are you're going to be speaking with me or the head of QA. And how great to be able to have those two people as resources for your support tickets and on Discord. And so what you'll see here is that instead of copying this full name over and time again, I've just copied it here for the name and then again the wallpaper name. And the really nice thing about this is that if I decide I want to place it somewhere else in the future or give it a different name, I just change it in one place and then it just runs. So I really like to show this state for that example, and and it works. This is one of my VMs, and this is the wallpaper that we set. And as soon as I logged back into this computer, the wallpaper was already there. It ran and it was simple. And I had to do nothing on this VM to get it to run. It just appeared. So again, it's just another very powerful example of how easy it is to use these states to get things done and to administer your computers, and to do so with just one person across a wide range of computers. So thank you for letting me talk about that one, John.
Yeah, I love that. And I know we're kind of out of time here. I want to do, we have like 4 more examples that we could do right now, but I think we'll have to get kind of closing out here in a minute, but super powerful capabilities with states. Please set up time with us to go over ones you can do. The fun part for us is solving new problems and seeing all the cool things that you can do with it. We've seen people cut down their deployment of machines by a huge factor. And the one thing that we always hear back is the visibility of knowing what it's doing and whether or not it's successful and in real time is what I was missing. That's what I hear all the time, because people are using MDM tools, or they're using group policy or something else to set things, and either it takes a very long time to get any feedback from that system, or it doesn't give very clear feedback or any feedback that lets you know that you've successfully achieved the thing you wanted to achieve. And I thought of that because you were just showing an actual VM with that wallpaper replaced. But the fact of the matter is that he didn't actually have to look at that. He could have gotten information from the monitoring screen, from the alert screen, or from our logs that would have said whether or not it was successful on each and every individual endpoint. So really, really powerful stuff overall. And would love to talk to any of you more about different things you can do with profiles. Hopefully today was helpful in sort of giving you the gist of all the things that are possible. We want to do as much as we can just with a couple of clicks, and that's where patching and installs through the repository, setting up monitoring jobs, remoting, all of those things are very, very simple. But when you need to get unique, specific, or really in deep control, profiles is the way to go. And we wanted to do a special webinar on that. So that was the goal for today, and hopefully we've achieved that for you. Andrew, I think maybe if you wouldn't mind bringing up the slide deck, we did just on our out here want to just talk about our few upcoming features for the rest of this year that are very, very exciting. So in addition to enhancements on everything you've seen today and our other existing features, we are adding mobile device management for Apple devices, starting with Mac OS, followed by iOS and Apple TV and so forth. The iOS, or rather the Mac OS, will be out here in just a few short weeks, and iOS will be about a month behind that. And that means full deployment from DEP. That means you'll be able to do all of the functions that are possible with mobile config files. So any setting you can imagine on Mac that they've started to deprecate in the CLI, we have filled in that gap by getting this MDM function. Probably one of the coolest things, you can encrypt the hard drive with File Vault and escrow the key up to Bacon. So really, really powerful stuff. And all of the things you've seen in other MDMs, we'll be able to do them, but in much more near real time, along with still being able to do everything that you could do in Bacon already. So it's going to be kind of a monster feature here. The other couple, I'm going to do them a little out of order. Third-party patching, we can already do third-party patching today, but really what that feature is about proactive patching. So if a new version of Chrome or Firefox comes out, you want to know about that because you want to maybe be on the latest, and maybe you even want to auto update those particular apps, or the other sort of top 100 apps that are out there. We will have that before the end of the year, and that goes along with one called CVE tagging, which is a feature that allows security analysis and knowing that you've got CVEs related to your current operating system and that you perhaps need some patches, which it'll tell you, or maybe third-party applications. And that third-party patching will help clear that up for you. The last couple I mentioned, we have some new Linux, which is listed there. We're going to have improved grouping and folder layout, just better for organization when you got lots of stuff. Be great for you hoarders out there. And then also the customizable endpoint data, which we also call custom columns, means you'll be able to pull virtually anything you could query from a computer and turn it into a columnizable, searchable piece of data that you track. The example I give sometimes is if you use third-party video cards in your workstations or something, and you want the serial number of all of those so you can track them against what machines they're in, you'd be able to pull that in and see it just like you'd see any other column inside of Bacon. So this is all the stuff that's coming right now. There's a few smaller little features we left off the list, but that's all really exciting. And so with that, Emily, I'm going to hand it back to you if you've got any last comments before we close out.
Yes, definitely. I just want to thank you, John and Andrew, for that awesome demo today. And thank you, everybody, for listening in today. We want to let you know that we're going to have a Bacon Unlimited team member reaching out to you via phone and email to set up a personalized demo. So be on the lookout for that. And also don't forget to fill out that post-event survey so we can give you your super soft bacon t-shirt along with the rest of your bacon swag. And thank you again, everybody, and hope you have a great day.
Thanks all. Take care.